In this video, we'll look at essay questions. Essay questions test students' ability to apply and synthesize the information they have learned. Students have to generate answers rather than selecting them from a list, which allows them to demonstrate their knowledge within broad limits. For instructors, essay questions take more time to grade. It can also be hard to formalize the grading of essays. Here is an example of an essay question that asks students to explain the plum pudding model of the atom. Since essay questions are not automatically graded, you're free to write the answer however you like. You could use bullet points like this example, or you could write detailed instructions for what to look for in the student responses. This is what an essay question looks like on an online test when it uses the basic student entry mode. Notice the large text entry area and the symbol palette that allows students to enter special characters. If you use a student entry mode other than the basic mode, you can allow students to format their answers. This is what an essay question looks like on a printed test. To standardize the grading of an essay, an instructor or publisher can add a rubric to the question. This allows an instructor to award points based on different criteria. In this example, I have two criteria, one for the factual nature of the essay and another for the mechanics and grammar of the essay. Students can earn up to 2 points for each criterion for a total of 4 points. For assignments with open-ended questions, instructors will be notified in the classes and assignments section that they have questions that require manual grading. You can read the student's answer and compare it to the correct answer. To award points for the question, click Edit. If there is a rubric associated with the question, a dialog will open that contains the criteria name, the student's answer, and the different measures for the criterion. Based on the student's performance against the criterion, you can award the corresponding number of points. Then, you can click Next to evaluate the next criterion. You continue awarding points until you've evaluated all the criteria. Then you click OK to record the student score. Now, let's look at how to create a basic essay question without a rubric. Let's start by clicking the New Question button, and then selecting Essay. We'll enter our question text. Our question text reads, "Discuss the similarities and differences between hydrogen and helium." Next, we'll go to the Answer and Grading tab and enter the answer. For our answer, we've typed, "They are similar in physical properties, but completely different in chemical behavior." On the Answer and Grading tab, you can also select a different student text entry mode if you need students to format their answer or if they need to use a specific set of special characters. Let's click OK to save the question. Next, we'll look at what it's like to grade this question in an assignment. To grade an essay or any open-ended question on an assignment, you can click the Needs Manual Scoring link if it's available or the Edit Scores link from the pencil menu. If the essay doesn't have a rubric, then the grading is fairly straightforward. You can read the student's answer and compare it to the correct answer. Then you can click the Edit link to update the score. Because they require more thought and work, essay questions are usually worth more than 1 point. This gives you the option of awarding partial credit. In this example, my essay is only worth 1 point, so I'll enter 1 in the score and click Update. If you're not going to give the student any points for the question, you still want to click Edit and then Update. Doing this marks the question as graded. Next, let's look at how we can add a rubric to our question. Rubrics are stored as question information. There are a couple ways we can access the question information. Let's start by clicking the pencil menu. We can go directly to the question information by clicking Edit Info. We can also get to the question information by selecting the Edit option and going to the Info tab. We're going to select this option because we're also going to want to change the point value of the question after we add the rubric. In the Edit Question dialog box, we'll click the Info tab. Then we'll click Info and Objectives. In the Question Information dialog box, there is a rubric option. This option only appears for essay questions. Let's click Edit to create a new rubric. A rubric is a table made up of criteria, which are the rows, and indicators, which are the columns. For each criterion or row, there is a range of points. In this case, 0 to 4 points. For this question, we're going to create a simple rubric with one criterion and a point range from 0 to 2. We'll start by reducing the number of criteria to 1. Since I want my criterion to be scored from 0 to 2, I'll set the number of indicators to 3. There are default labels for the indicators. I want to change the third indicator to read Mastery. Next, I need to write a description of the criterion. I'm interested in grading students on the number of similarities and differences that they give me. Now I'll enter the specifics for each of the indicators. To receive the full 2 points for the question, I'd like students to give me 2 similarities and 2 differences. If they only provide 1 similarity or difference, they'll receive 0 points. So, let's enter that information in the failure indicator. If students provide 2 to 3 similarities or differences, they'll receive 1 point. Let's enter that explanation in the below expectations indicator. Finally, if students provide 4 or more similarities and/or differences, they will receive the full 2 points. Now we can click OK to add the rubric. And then we'll click OK in the Question Information dialog to save the rubric. Originally, the essay question we created was worth 1 point. We've now added a rubric that is set up to award between 0 and 2 points. So the system alerts us that we should increase the point value to match the rubric. Let's click OK to close this alert. And OK in the Question Information dialog again. Let's increase the point value to 2, and then click OK to save the question. Now that we've added the rubric, let's see how that affects the grading. I've created an assignment from our test, and a student has taken it. Let's click the Needs Manual Scoring link and look at our rubric. Before we had the rubric, if we clicked Edit, we could just update the score field. Let's click that link and see what happens now. Now we see our rubric and the indicators we created. We can read the student answer and award the appropriate number of points based on the rubric. Then we click OK to update the score. Finally, we'll click Done to save the scores. And that's how you can create an essay question with and without a rubric.